Hello everyone. As I'm sure you all know, Stasis is the current dominant subclass within the Crucible. It outdoes other subclasses in all aspects of the game, and is truly overpowered. This has led to the Crucible being notably less fun for a large amount of players. But with this video I hope to explore some ways to make dealing with Stasis more enjoyable, and in turn create a more enjoyable Crucible experience. Before I get too far into this video, there are a few things I would like to say. First of all, yes, I know Stasis received nerfs, but the nerfs given will have little to no effect on what makes Stasis so deadly, or what makes Stasis so infuriating to fight. Also, the tips I give in this video will not be a one-size-fits-all to Counter Stasis, because as I previously said, Stasis is very strong within the Crucible right now, so no matter how prepared you are to fight Stasis, you will still get killed in many ways that piss you off, especially if the enemy team has multiple Stasis users. And one more thing, I want to give my Discord a small shout out as I'm trying to build up the community over there, so if you want to interact more with the channel, talk about Destiny, or just talk about anything in general, please head over to the Discord. I highly encourage you to check it out, but anyways, let's get back to Stasis. To begin to find ways to fight Stasis, we must first understand what makes it so strong. Stasis is powerful for three main reasons. First of all, Stasis attacks have large areas of effect. Secondly, Stasis abilities have a decent amount of aim assist and general forgiveness. And third of all, there is a high amount of lethality found in almost all Stasis abilities. Everything from sliding to grenades can secure kills. These three things are what cause Stasis to be the powerhouse it currently is, and is why the Stasis nerfs will most likely have little effect on how good Stasis is, because they generally did not touch these three parts of Stasis. So let's start this off by addressing the first point on the list, which is the large area of effect or AoE Stasis attacks have. To give a metric on how big of an effect Stasis attacks would have, I would refer to the B flag on the Altar of Flame Crucible map. Most Stasis grenades and supers can cover the entirety of the B flag area, and most other Stasis powers such as dodging, warlock melee, and so on can cover the B flag itself. So on screen you can see a shaded in purple area which covers the effective area of most Stasis attacks. For the sake of the video, we're going to say that an enemy player used a Duskfield grenade on the B objective. The visual shows how far away the grenade will suck players in, even though the actual grenade and slowness area is slightly smaller. Now I'll update the visual to show how easily a Duskfield grenade can lock down high traffic areas on the map. As you can see, Stasis is a very good area denial tool, and this allows Stasis users to win 1v2s and 1v3s that they would normally lose. So how do you deal with this? Well, the first thing you should do when fighting Stasis is avoid grouping together with your team. You should try to remain spread out so that you can't all be attacked by a single Stasis ability. It's also important to note the closer you get to a Stasis Guardian, the easier you are to hit with a Stasis attack. I know that sounds obvious, but it's especially true with Stasis due to how slow many of the attacks work. Think about how hard it is to accurately throw a grenade over long distances, or how a hunter dodge will be unable to slow you from far away. And that's not even mentioning that actually getting kills with Stasis is a two-step process, because it requires players to either be frozen or slowed and then shattered or killed. This process, while extremely easy at close range, is much harder the further away players are from each other, which means it is very important to engage Stasis-powered enemies at range. This also acts as a counter to the second aspect of Stasis, which makes it so strong, which is the aim assist most Stasis abilities have. The melee abilities track enemies, the Cold Snap Grenade follows enemies, the supers also track enemies, and so on and so on. But the aim assist with Stasis works just like the aim assist found on weapons in that it gets weaker and weaker the further from your target you are. This is another reason to maintain your distance from enemy Stasis users. But I know at least someone is thinking, but doesn't that also make my own abilities worse? And the answer to that is yes, it does. But it's important to understand that if you are using a light subclass, your abilities are already worse to begin with. all that engaging enemies at range does is help level the playing field between both of your abilities. This means that whoever wins an engagement will win based on gun combat instead of subclass combat, which will in turn mean most advantages Stasis gives to its users will be nullified. So, what weapons and loadouts do I suggest for this kind of playstyle? Well, basically, I suggest long-range dueling weapons, such as pulse rifles, scout rifles, and some role-dependent 120 hand cannons. I specifically suggest using Outbreak Perfected, Time-Worn Spire, Dead Man's Tales, Mida Multi-Tool, Sturm, Bottom Dollar, and the Igneous Hammer. All of these weapons can handle dueling at longer ranges easily, and are all primary weapons. Because I believe if you are fighting Stasis users, it's better to have your primary weapon focus on longer range engagements, instead of relying on a special sniper. This is because you are limited to 2 shots with a sniper rifle, and if you are planning on playing long distance for most of the game, then 2 shots every life just won't cut it. But in addition to the weapons I suggested, I would also advise using targeting mods for your respective weapon classes in order to draw out their range a little further. This should hopefully allow you to decide how you will engage Stasis enemies instead of having to fall into their range of effect. But there will be times, of course, in the Crucible where you are forced into this range of effect due to either the flow of the game, the size of the map, or a whole myriad of other reasons. When this happens, it's important to remember my third point about what makes Stasis overpowered, which is the high lethality of Stasis. Everything that can either freeze or slow you, which happens to be everything from sliding to supers, allows for very easy kills. It's important to remember this, because when you get sucked into the closer engagement ranges of a Stasis user, it's easy to think, oh, I can easily shotgun rush this dude. But if you approach every Stasis user like this, you will very often be either frozen or slowed and then killed before you can get within the kill range. What I would advise doing instead would be keep what distance you can and keep constant pressure on the Stasis user. Throw grenades, take pot shots, keep him pinned down, and so on. These things will make it harder for the enemy player to properly assess the situation and can cause him to be more prone to make mistakes, which in turn will allow you to get the kill. But sadly, the most likely scenario is that the enemy player doesn't make a mistake, and that you will end up either frozen or slowed and then killed. When that happens, it's important to keep a cool head. This goes for all of Destiny PvP, but especially when dealing with Stasis. It's super easy to die to Stasis over and over and over again, and get more and more angry with the game. But that is something you should try to avoid, because it will lead to worse aim, more careless mistakes, and make you an overall worse player. When you begin to suffer repeated deaths that you believe are completely BS, which if we're being honest there's a lot of within Destiny, you should try and keep calm mentally. I did this by taking deep breaths along with focusing on the fundamentals of aiming, team play, and map control. I know this may sound like something that's not very important and not a true counter to Stasis, but trust me, keeping a cool mental picture in your mind will help you win fights. And it's because you can assess fights better, you will aim better, and you will make overall better gameplay decisions, all of which will in turn help you win fights against Stasis. So, before I end this video, let's go over what I suggested to counter Stasis. First of all, you should keep good distance between yourself and your teammates. You should engage Stasis-wielding enemies from longer ranges, and you should always respect a Stasis enemy as if they have a charged ability, because they most likely do. And you should in general try to remain level-headed even when a match is not going your way. But those are really all of my thoughts regarding how to combat and counter Stasis, so if you have any other topics you would like me to make guides on, or if there are things you would like me to add to this video, please leave them in the comments below, and if you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe so you don't miss my next video, and until next time, goodbye.